Folks, been meaning to do this for a while here. My reaction to Godzilla King of Monsters second trailer, because I'm really hyped to see this movie. As you know from my previous work here on the channel, I'm a big Godzilla fan, and so I'm going to give you my thoughts on what's in the trailer, what I think is going to happen, and what I hope is going to happen for the future of the Legendary Pictures Monsterverse here. So let's jump in.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Alright, so obligatory shot of the people running away from the city, and what is going to happen here, there's going to be some collateral damage. You can see a lot of people get killed here. I think in this very next shot, there goes Rodan. Just, as you know, let's go back a little bit. Rodan's famous for creating the shockwave that just destroys everything behind her. So I'm glad that we're actually seeing actual collateral damage and people getting injured, not because I want to see that, but because some of the movies, especially in the past, would shy away from that on purpose, and it's just ridiculous, and feels like there's no stakes. So I'm glad that they're actually showing that kind of destruction so that you feel like, you know, actually worried for the people in the film.
I'm trying to reach...
Oh, okay. So, two things about this, of course. In the cloud, you can see King Ghidorah. I'm going to use the American pronunciation of the kaiju from now on because that's just what everybody's accustomed to. But King Ghidorah in the clouds there, the Japanese pronunciation would be Ghidorah. But anyway, obviously this is Washington, D.C. I think this is where the final battle is going to take place. You got the Capitol Dome here, and you got the Washington Monument. And there's obviously a lot of people that would love to see Washington, D.C. get destroyed by a giant monster at this point. But big tornadoes in the background, and looks like there's going to be this huge storm at the same time. We're seeing this from inside the cockpit of this bomber, which we're going to see later, I think. So anyway, that should be pretty cool, because I don't think we've actually seen a kaiju fight in Washington, D.C. before. Now this... sound here that she's reacting to, of course you hear chatter and stuff that things are going bad for people, is probably this whooshing sound that you hear is probably Rodan. Maybe it could be aliens. I know there's an alien component to a lot of the older, especially Showa era Godzilla films, where aliens had a big heavy involvement in the film. It might be a little bit too far out for this kind of film, because they're going for kind of like a semi quote-unquote realistic kind of feel to it. Yeah, this sound. All right, Warner Bros. And Legendary. This part here where they show Rodan coming out of the volcano, evidently Rodan's appearance in the film, grand appearance. I love how it looks like he's walking on his wingtips, kind of like a pterodactyl, which is what, you know, he was originally kind of supposed to be modeled after. Okay, so we have some giant insect legs bursting out of the ground. Now, most obvious candidate for this would be Mothra, a grown-up Mothra bursting out of the ground. But it could be Ebirah, if you know your Godzilla lore. There's many hints in the film and throughout the two trailers and some of the stuff said by the director that there's more kaiju than just the four that we've seen so far, the big four. And Ebirah could be one of those, or maybe one we haven't seen yet. It's interesting, these are like oil derricks, looks kind of sandy and stuff. Could be Texas, could be the Middle East somewhere. Would be a strange place for either Mothra or Ebirah to come out of.
Senators, we believe that these titans are just the tip of the iceberg.
He says they're just the tip of the iceberg. So that, you know, Legendary is trying to set this monsterverse. Universal tried it with the Universal monsters, didn't work out so well. But I think that they're trying to build up a pantheon of creatures and have them continuously collide together in various movies. So I think this is going to be the kicking off point of that. But what I like is they're actually not waiting for, you know, to do a movie of each single monster, a Godzilla movie, a Rodan movie, a Mothra movie. They're just throwing them all into one movie. It's like putting the Avengers as the second or third Marvel film instead of the 15th Marvel film. And there's Sally Hawkins, fresh off of her Oscar-winning nod for Shape of Water. Okay, so this, I believe, is that bomber that we saw. We were in the interior cockpit for the shot we talked about before in DC, and of course he's being pursued here by Rodan. I think this is going to be carrying a super weapon, kind of like this movie's version of the Oxygen Destroyer. And of course, as per usual, all the super weapons, they always fail to kill the monsters, and we have to rely on Godzilla to do that for us. Okay, and kaiju coming out of the ground, out of a mountain. Now, of course, this could be any of the big ones we've seen already. Of course, a lot of fans are speculating that this is Anguirus, and you can see some spikes and stuff. Has kind of his shape. And I hope that's true. That'd be really cool. Of course, Anguirus always gets his ass kicked in these movies, but it should be interesting to see him on the big screen. Zhang Ziyi, I have a feeling she's just in here to appeal to the Chinese audience. It seems that all these kind of genre movies nowadays have to appeal to a Chinese audience to get Chinese box office. I don't blame them for it. I think she's a fine actress. I have a feeling she's not going to have much to do in the film, just because it doesn't seem that she's really referenced that much.
Which of these titans are here to protect us?
Okay, so now we're hearing this kind of sonic call, and we see Mothra's wings kind of unfold here in what looks like kind of like a nuclear explosion. And if you know your Godzilla lore, Mothra continually in the movies ends up like dying and getting resurrected, kind of like a phoenix. Either the larva die and come back, or Mothra herself, intercepts a blast that's meant for Godzilla or something and explodes into a bunch of particles, glowing particles, and then coalesces and becomes some other version of herself. We'll see if they do that here, or if this is just Mothra, just, I don't know, exhibiting a new power or something. Again, here's Rodan causing actual human catastrophic damage. Again, not that I'm bloodthirsty, I just think it's good to show this because it makes the movie have stakes and makes you feel like the characters are in real danger.
These titans are here to threaten us.
Alright. Okay. King Ghidorah. I love how the tail spikes kind of come out like switchblades, and some of the designs for Ghidorah, the tail's more like a club, and this one I like that they went with the kind of spikes because it has a better look. And all right, so here's the big king himself, and in the last film, Godzilla had this really cool way of charging up his atomic blast. It was like this kind of wave of blue light that came up his tail. In this one, it looks like they're doing something similar with Ghidorah. They're letting his they're having this column of electricity kind of go up through his necks. So he's obviously getting ready to unleash some damage on somebody here.
So you'd want to make Godzilla our pet?
No. We would be his.
All right, we got Ken Watanabe. I'm glad he's in these films. I've always liked the scientist characters in these movies. I think the last film focused too much on the soldier characters, and there's not much a soldier can do against Godzilla. They've just got rifles. Nothing we ever do works, but it's the scientists can actually develop technologies or find out things that can actually change the course of the film. So I just like scientist characters anyway. So I'm glad that he's in here, and Ken Watanabe is really good in this film.
He would be his.
Okay, so here it looks like it's some kind of underground city here. I think it's related to the Forgotten City we saw in some earlier parts of the trailer. It's obviously being consumed by lava. It looks like Godzilla's been beaten here. I think that this is Millie Bobby Brown's character, and I think we'll see. And I think she's going to have some kind of way of communing with Godzilla, either contacting him directly or contacting him telepathically, as we've seen in previous films. There's Godzilla obviously looking at her. So, it's Megumi Odaka's character in some of the previous Heisei Godzilla movies. she had an actual telepathic connection to Godzilla, and she could tell people what Godzilla was thinking, what he was wanting to do, and it at least had some kind of hook between the human characters and the kaiju characters. Because, to be honest, the whole problem with these movies is that the kaiju action is what everybody wants to see, and the human characters are just kind of tagging along. So it's good to have some kind of connection. And, for example, in the Gamera film, Revenge of Ares, the girl has a connection this time to the evil kaiju, but I even think she looks a little bit like Megumi Odaka, and maybe her ears could be a little bit bigger, but I think that's what they're going to go for here. I think they're setting her up to be some kind of conduit between the humans and the kaiju. All right, looks like Millie Bobby Brown was concerned about the fight, the way it's going. This looks like Ghidorah is getting kind of grabbed from behind or thrown around here, so it's going to be a back and forth kind of fight. All right. A lot of people are speculating this is actually Ghidorah, King Ghidorah, crashing to Earth many, many millennia ago, because in the original kind of mythology of Godzilla, King Ghidorah is actually an alien. He's either created or controlled by aliens. They call him Monster Zero, and many people are speculating that they're going to keep that mythology going, and of course open up the MonsterVerse, which I think they will end up doing at some point. They'll have the aliens in there at some point, extraterrestrial threat, and but it could also be related to the Mothra rebirth scene that we talked about before. This could, in fact, instead be Mothra getting, flaming out like a giant bug in a bug zapper. But I think my money's on Ghidorah. Flashback to Ghidorah, plunges to Earth, gets frozen, wakes up, and causes havoc.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. So that is definitely a reference to, what I think they're going to do with this MonsterVerse. They're going to start showing you these monsters, and they're going to show you kind of like hints that there's a bunch of other monsters, and they'll be able to, have multiple movies, sell multiple toys, and have a big expansive MonsterVerse. This is a great shot. We got Rodan's talons looking pretty fearsome there, getting ready to grab this ship.
Battling for
Okay, so this is actually a really good shot of Mothra. I was never actually the biggest Mothra fan. When I was a little kid, it pissed me off so much that Godzilla got beaten by a moth, and and he would fight Mothra, and Mothra would beat him. And I was like, he's the king of the monsters, and this is a moth, But she actually looks really cool, and the few sequences where we see her, and she can look kind of goofy sometimes. She can look kind of like, I don't know, just like a doll and like a stuffed animal that's being thrown into the mix here. But in this one, they're making her look pretty fearsome here with these giant spiky arms, and even the wings and everything look cool. And she looks very dynamic the way she's attacking here. So, oh, look at that! This is awesome. Just the silhouettes. I think they've done an absolute perfect job of the King Ghidorah design. The wings are just mammoth and huge, and I think it's gonna be great to see this face off.
to Godzilla.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the new design of Godzilla. I think he looks very crocodilian, but I think one thing they do really well with this design is when he looks pissed off, he looks like he is really, really pissed off. I mean, they've got the facial expressions on there. They're able to actually get some acting out of him, which I think is really great, even though the eyes are so tiny. But I think that I love these scenes when he flares his nostrils. He really looks like he's getting ready to kick some ass.
You gotta be careful.
There we go. Oh, that was awesome. Got some King Ghidorah lightning damage here going on, and it looks the sound effects great. Everything about this looks great. There we go. That is actually a pretty badass Mothra, I have to say. I love the he lighting up. Looks like he's going to be able to shoot some sort of like beam weapon or something. Getting ready to, the wings lighting up, and looks actually a little bit fearsome, believe it or not. There's although this actually does not. This actually does look like a regular, normal human city, not a how can I say, underground city or something. But it looks like the Big G himself is covered in fire or magma or something. So it looks like he's not having a good day in this scene. I love this because this shows the dynamic way they're going to treat the kaiju in this. They're not just plodding along. Of course, you know, back in the day, they couldn't do anything. They had people in suits. They had, you know, puppets on wires. There's only so much they could do. But now with CGI, they're unleashed, and I'm glad that they're actually doing things like this barrel roll where they're actually, you know, showing these creatures in a dynamic, forceful way instead of just having them like plot against each other and stuff. So. And of course, the money shot. There we go. Let's go back to that here. So again, here is where I think for sure all right, this looks, I actually lived in DC for a while, and I think this looks like, I think it's like the Treasure or something, or one of the Smithsonian's. And then here you can see, I think that looks like, of course these could be the tornadoes in the background. I think that looks like the Washington Monument. So I'm pretty much 90% sure this final battle takes place in DC. So it should be really cool to see that happen. But this, you know, this right here, I mean, this is like something that fans of this genre have waited for a long time to see, you know, these creatures on the big screen, done well, done with a real budget, done seriously, instead of just like, you know, this kind of, you know, puffy toy version that we've had in the past and stuff. So I love the guy in the suit stuff. I love it. It's great stuff. But this is just a different thing, and I'm glad we're actually getting to see it. This is like geek heaven here. So Godzilla, king of the monsters, he certainly is. So I can't wait for this. I have to do everything I can to ensure that I live to see the end of May here, so I can at least see this movie and stuff. Not that I'm in any trouble of dying, but I'm just saying I'm going to make extra sure that I drive carefully and eat well and stuff, because I don't want to miss this movie for anything. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the film, and I'll see you later.